How's it going, everyone? Matt Leighton, welcome back to another video. In this video, I bring on a special guest. Maybe you've seen him before in the past couple weeks. Rich Conlon with Atlantic Coast Mortgage. Rich, in 15 seconds or fewer, why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Rich Conlon, loan officer with Atlantic Coast Mortgage, born and raised in Vienna, Virginia. Love the area, love the market. It's one of the best in the country, obviously, next to LA and New York. So happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Rich, I want to ask you a question that you've probably never heard before. How do I apply for a mortgage? Is that a new one for you? Or maybe? No. In today's video, we're going to go through how you actually go about applying for a mortgage. What are the steps, maybe the things to avoid, maybe the tips that an expert who has heard that question many times, my dry humor sometimes doesn't come across in the video as much as I like. So Rich, take it away. How do I apply for a mortgage?
All right. Well, it's quite simple. If you're working with an agent, ask your agent. Yeah. Most good agents should have at least 1, 2, or 3 entrusted loan officers that they do work with. If you don't already have a family, friend, or whatnot, definitely ask your agent. It gives you better chance for success. Obviously, they've entrusted them, so there is a level of respect. And obviously, me being a loan officer, working with other agents, anytime an agent sends over a referral to get in touch with the client, they want to apply, that just drops everything, and you want to move quickly to make sure that happens.
So let's say my family, someone recommends like 3 mortgage lenders or banks or credit unions, someone that can provide a loan. What sorts of things should a consumer be looking for that would build that relationship, that would make that person choose one or the other? What sorts of things should someone be looking for in a mortgage company?
Most importantly is communication in a timely manner. We operate 7 days a week, mainly because we understand that a lot of the home search is done on the weekends. So being available for those decisions is very key. We are a correspondent lender, so we work outside of the normal Monday through Friday 9 to 5, and it's not one of those things. Our company IT department is amazing in providing us the ability to function on the weekends wherever we're at. So responsiveness, that is one key thing. Another thing to look at, obviously everyone is curious, rate shopping. That's great, and that's one of those things, you're going to probably get a different rate from wherever you go. Credit unions, banks, and then the correspondent lenders. It's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does encourage you, and we encourage it. Don't just corner yourself into one lender when you first start. When you apply to a couple different ones. It's your responsibility to shop, and we encourage that. Like I said, a lot of the applications you can apply with all 3. A big common misconception is, well, I don't want my credit pulled by all 3 because each time that dings my credit. That in fact is false. They have pretty much adhered now, credit bureaus and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, in terms of letting people shop. So if you're shopping within a 30-day period and you're working with a couple different mortgage companies, all those credit pools will apply just for one hard pool. So when you're out and you're shopping for a mortgage and you reach out to a couple different lenders, don't be necessarily afraid to have credit pooled by all. Obviously we're going to adhere. If you know your credit score and you would rather us not pool at that time, we're simply okay with that. We'll work with you. More than happy to. And when it comes to obviously issuing an approval letter and completing the pre-approval process, we will want to pull credit. Yeah,
that's sort of like shopping for a car, I believe. If you go to 10 dealerships,
exactly.
You're not going to have 10. I'm not a credit expert, but if the pulls are all in the same sort of category, it is my understanding that they're not the hard pulls.
Your understanding is spot on.
It usually is.
In this day and age, also applications, like I said, can be done online. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. And then again, it gets back to responsiveness. When it's submitted, and making sure that loan officer is at least following up and saying he got it, and that he'll be working on it to circle back with you.
So we've figured out who to get a mortgage from. You have your 3 maybe referrals, or you're working with a bank or a local lender. You should be working with a local lender. You figured out that your credit score is what it is, and it's not going to change significantly when the credit does get pulled. And now you're moving forward with a mortgage company. What is the next step? What do you need? What sort of paperwork? What sort of process? How much do I have to spend to get a mortgage, to apply? In that stage of the process, where do we go?
Documentation, obviously. What is stated on the application, the day and age prior to the market crash where you could state on the application the lender took your word for it, is pretty much non-existent anymore after, obviously, the market crash. So documentation will need to be provided to confirm the data that is submitted. Lenders will sometimes issue approval letters without having documentation. Sometimes that is a caution. That would be a red flag, maybe not necessarily to say I'm not working with them, but something to be look out for, because ultimately, if you do go under contract and you get documentation after the fact, that information could be revealed. Not saying that you are withholding it, but there are the underwriting guidelines for loans today are very detailed. Cumbersome. There's so much out there that most consumers don't know, nor should they know. That's what we're here for. So having documentation provided is definitely, once after submitting the application, does help identify any, like I mentioned before, any potential pitfalls in the underwriting process, so you're not getting snake bit a week before settlement and all efforts are lost.
Recently, the rate has been jumping and falling and jumping. It looks like an EKG, like heart monitor out there. It's crazy. At what point does someone lock in their rate? You're applying. When you apply, can you get that rate, or when do you lock in the actual rate?
Very great question. You cannot lock an interest rate. It does not matter who you work with. You cannot lock an interest rate until you have a ratified contract with agreed upon terms. Sales price, settlement dates agreed upon, down payment, if there are any financing contingencies, and earnest money deposit. Now, there are times we understand that paperwork can be passed around and it takes time for that. So there are cases when we're dealing with a market that specifically today with the new administration, the Fed now, the economy is on the rise. So naturally, interest rates are beginning to rise again. So we're facing an upward trending market. We do want to protect you. So a company policy of ours is, if we have a verbal agreement in place, and we have those details that I specifically laid, sales price, EMD, settlement date, if there are any seller concessions. If we have those in hand and we have if we have those verbally agreed upon, we'll be more than happy to secure your terms and protect you against any sort of negative market movement while we're waiting on the sellers to sign. We understand people are at work, can't get to it until later that night, and the market moves on a daily basis. So capitalizing and protecting it as early as possible is something that we always like to build for our clients. So when a verbal agreement is placed, we're more than happy to help protect, as long as we have confirmations on those details.
Got it. Last question. I'm under contract, 20 days pass, I've locked my rate. At what point am I approved? Is the loan finalized? Is it done? I can start popping champagne bottles? Because I think that gets happened before settlement. So could have 2 reasons to pop champagne bottles.
Yeah. So there are a couple of stages, and a great rule that was instituted in October of 2015. TRID instituted a new rule in terms of the form called the closing disclosure, aka the old HUD 1. The HUD 1 used to be delivered sometimes 30 minutes before settlement, which can be a nightmare. Not knowing that you're going to close until 30 minutes is just wrong.
Yeah.
Till and the Truth in Lending, they passed a law that a closing disclosure is to be delivered at least 3 days before settlement. That will detail what you're expected to deliver at settlement in terms of cash to close. And by that time, even a few days before then, you'll know if your loan is fully approved. So there are two types of approval, a conditional approval and then the final approval. More times than not, you'll get a conditional approval a few weeks after ratification and locking in. Our company, average settlement time frames of 30 days, we can do quicker. And it's usually conditional approval will be instituted about midway, and so 2 weeks is a good and conditional approval is pretty much saying your loan is approved subject to a few minor updating items, updating documentation, and barring nothing significantly changed after that. You should expect the final approval, about a week before, and then right after that, it's just a matter of receiving your closing disclosure, so you know what either to wire or make that the check out to.
Cool. Sounds good. That is an overall primer, very quick hitter on how do I apply for a mortgage for dummies, if you will. I will list and link Rich's information in the description below. So if you have any other questions about how to apply for a mortgage, or if you're interested in moving forward and you're in the Northern Virginia area, you can contact him below. Also, be sure to check out this video up in the corner on the #1 mistake that people are making with Rich and across the country when they are applying for a loan. So check out that video and the other videos on my channel, and I will catch you in the next video. For Rich and myself, until next time, create a productive day. Take care.